If you've ever tried to relax and felt uneasy instead, this might sound familiar. You finally sit down. The work is done. The house is quiet. There's nothing urgent, but instead of relief, there's tension. You reach for your phone. You think about what you should be doing. You mentally review tomorrow's tasks. You feel slightly behind even when you're not. It doesn't look dramatic. From the outside, you just seem responsible, driven, disciplined. But it says more than you think. For some people, rest doesn't feel neutral. It feels unsafe. They can work for hours without complaint. They can push through exhaustion. They can stay busy all day. But the moment things slow down, something uncomfortable rises to the surface. A quiet guilt, a subtle anxiety, almost like they're doing something wrong. And here's what most people don't realize. When rest triggers guilt, it's rarely about laziness. It's often about identity. On the surface, staying productive looks like ambition. It looks like strong work ethic. It looks admirable. But look closer at the small behaviors. You feel the need to earn your downtime. You justify relaxing by saying, "I had a long day." You struggle to enjoy a day off without planning how to make it useful. You compare your pace to others and quietly decide you should be doing more. And if someone calls you unproductive, even jokingly, it hits deeper than it should. That reaction isn't random. Somewhere along the way, productivity became tied to worth. Maybe you were praised for achievements more than for who you were. Maybe good grades brought attention. Clean rooms brought approval. Being helpful brought warmth. Maybe rest was labeled lazy, or wasting time, or not trying hard enough. Children are extremely sensitive to what earns connection. If effort brings love, effort becomes identity. So you learn something very subtle. Doing equals value. And if doing equals value, then not doing becomes threatening. That's not weakness. It's conditioning. Over time, this belief gets internalized so deeply that it feels like personality. I'm just a hard worker. I don't like sitting around. I feel better when I'm productive. And that might be true. But sometimes underneath that preference is a quiet fear that if you stop moving, you stop mattering. And here's where it gets interesting. The real discomfort with rest isn't always about productivity. It's about exposure. When you're busy, you're in control. Your mind has direction. Your role is clear. When you slow down, there's space. And in that space, thoughts surface. Doubts, loneliness, unprocessed feelings. Rest removes distraction. For someone who learned early to stay useful, stillness can feel like standing without armor. Busyness becomes protection. It protects you from criticism, from self-judgment, from feeling behind. It even protects you from your own emotions. If your childhood environment was unpredictable or high pressure, productivity may have given you stability. If things felt chaotic, being responsible made you feel secure. If affection was inconsistent, achievement made it reliable. So your nervous system paired effort with safety. And when you try to rest now, your body doesn't interpret it as recovery. It interprets it as risk. Risk of falling behind. Risk of being seen as lazy. Risk of not being enough. That's why relaxing can feel oddly tense. There's also another layer. When your worth is tied to output, your relationships can subtly reflect that. You may feel most comfortable when you're helping, organizing, fixing, contributing. You might struggle to receive without offering something back. Compliments about your character feel nice, but compliments about your accomplishments feel grounding because accomplishments feel measurable, stable. But who you are without producing, that can feel uncertain, and uncertainty feels unsafe. You might even notice that during vacations or slow weekends, you feel restless. You create projects. You clean unnecessarily. You check work emails just in case, not because you have to, but because being still feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar can feel threatening. But here's the deeper truth. If productivity became your way of securing love, approval, or stability, then slowing down challenges that old agreement. It quietly asks, who are you when you're not achieving? And that question can feel destabilizing, not because you lack value, but because your system learned to measure value in effort. That's why simply telling yourself to relax more rarely changes anything. The pattern isn't about time management. It's about emotional memory. Your body remembers what happened when you weren't enough. Even if you don't consciously remember specific moments, the imprint remains. So you stay ahead. You stay useful. You stay productive. Because somewhere deep down, that feels safer than being still. There's often pride in this trait. People rely on you. You get things done. You don't fall apart under pressure. But the cost can be subtle. You struggle to enjoy moments without turning them into goals. You feel uneasy being taken care of. You downplay exhaustion. You keep going. And sometimes, quietly, you wonder why slowing down feels harder than speeding up. The answer isn't laziness. It's loyalty. Loyalty to an old belief that says, if I do enough, I'll be enough. And that belief once served you. It helped you adapt. It helped you survive environments where performance brought stability. So again, this isn't weakness. It's protection. Protection that became identity. Once you see that, something shifts. The guilt around rest isn't random. The anxiety in stillness isn't irrational. It was learned. And what was learned can be understood. You are not broken for feeling uneasy when you slow down. You simply learned that movement meant safety, and stillness meant uncertainty. But the pattern is just that, a pattern. It shaped how you relate to work, how you relate to approval, how you relate to yourself. And once you notice it, you start seeing it everywhere. In the way you justify downtime, in the way you measure your day, in the way you equate exhaustion with success. It was never random. It was a story you absorbed early. If this explains something you've quietly felt for years, there's more to uncover. Because sometimes the traits we're most praised for started as protection. And awareness of that protection changes how you see yourself. Understanding yourself is the beginning of everything.